What does infill look like? Are they bulldozing dozens of historic homes to make slightly larger buildings? Is the aesthetic character of a neighborhood lost in the new building? Let's try to answer some of these questions and take a ride through a rapidly developing neighborhood in New Jersey and look at what some new infills look like. There's a bit of a knowledge gap between what modern infill development looks like. Now, I won't be telling you what to think about infill development, but hopefully show you enough to form an opinion of your own. Let's start here in a recently upzoned street just 2 blocks away from the train stop. It has a good mix of older housing, 1 through 3 family homes, both attached and detached. But with upzoning, a few of these are being replaced with larger buildings. The tower going up on the left will have over 300 housing units with 200 bike parking spots, and the empty lot on the right will have over 200 housing units. Both will be 27 floors tall. Back in 2007, the plot on the right here had 3 century-old stick frame homes, and the plot on the left was just a parking lot for a funeral home. And over a couple of years, the 3 buildings were torn down. Now you can see that there's a good mix of styles for the rest of the buildings on this street. A brand new modernist duplex next to 1920s triplexes, and a good handful of red brick row houses. They should be a little over 120 years old. The row houses seem worth saving and are a decent use of small lots. They'll probably stick around for a while. Here's another one of those new stainless steel detached homes that was built somewhere around 2014. If this was built just a few years earlier, it would have most likely been designed with a parking garage. It's designed as a roomy 3 unit, though I don't think it's currently configured that way. Just a few years before, it was a similarly small 2-floor duplex like its neighboring house. It seems like an improvement with a minimal to no loss in my mind. Brick row homes generally seem to stick around for a while stick frame detached homes are more likely to get redeveloped. Let's go 1 block over, where we can get a good taste of some of the mid-size housing developments going up. Here's a brand new one that was built just 2 years ago. It's easy to tell it's modern, without a parking garage and plenty of windows that don't fully open. I believe there are insurance reasons for this, so I won't be too judgmental. You can see the gap between the buildings and the new firewall going up with a stairwell which is protected during a fire. So from a brick row home that was built around 60 years ago and a detached home that seems to have been built around the 90s, springs forth 4 dozen new homes with no more cars parked on the sidewalks. There's an interesting little anomaly right next to this building. An old row house has been bumped out around 6 feet forward. Clearly there was need for a little bit more space here. This new tower on the same street was 4 dilapidated stick frame homes and an empty lot used for parking just a few years back. You can see how many of these homes had front yards that were being used as parking spots. You can see the walking path which is added to this site and will create a walking path between 3 blocks right up to the metro station. This is nice because there's a little bit more public space created for pedestrians. Hey look, a level crossing sidewalk. The small double-hung windows on this building are a dead ringer for cheaper buildings built or renovated just a few decades back. This one was done in 1994 and shows how infill was done here in the recent past, when it was expected that everyone would need at least 1 car per home, and there was little concern to how the facade looked. The 70s through 90s was a bad time for American cities. Note, this one's actually attached to its neighboring building, unlike the new mid-rise buildings that were going up down the street. Again on the same street, 2 brand new infill mid-rise buildings. I dig the kind of postmodernist thing that's going on here with these two buildings. The ribbon windows and the solid color triangle moment are a callback to the Bauhaus and modernist buildings of the mid-century. You don't see many 5-story buildings on a 25-foot wide lot either, and both buildings have a small shop on the first floor. Just 6 years ago, these were 3 stick-frame homes and 5 parking spots. The sidewalk parking spots were removed and the streetscape is much more comfortable, allowing for outdoor dining for this cafe here. It's been pretty cold filming this day, about 25 degrees Fahrenheit, so after a quick coffee at the new coffee shop and a little oogling of the brutalist Journal Square building, it's back out to look at some older infill development. Now, infill development is no new concept. Many of these buildings with balconies are 2- and 3-family homes, and are about 90 to 110 years old. These 5-story pre-war apartments would have been modern infill development in the 1930s, a few decades younger than the detached homes on the street. There was a mighty need for housing in this neighborhood, and this was the solution before a city could sprawl outwards. Here you can see some row homes that were built before 1893 when this map was made. It is what constituted as affordable working-class homes in the latter years of the 19th century. Places like Philadelphia and Baltimore are chock full of these small row homes. It shows a bit of the lasting power of older, dense housing to last around 130 years. One last example, one neighborhood over, there's an infill Scandinavian-type modernist building. A pretty clever silhouette of the home nested inside of a home nested inside of a home. New infill buildings can have class, not just create more housing. Hopefully this more casual video looking at infill development was informative and enjoyable. If you like more casual videos, I should be able to make a few more between my more heavily researched videos like the Jersey City video linked above. I'd like to give a shout out to Coffee for keeping me warm and alert. I also have a Ko-fi page where you can contribute to me making this content. Goodbye for now.